Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician and this is Holomancer.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop. Baku and Genn return to standard. This means that players will have a unique opportunity to improve their hero powers at the beginning of the match. This is a great moment for us to determine which design approach is more beneficial, reducing the cost of initial hero powers or significantly increasing the effects.
In this video we will continue our research into the value of hero powers and have a duel between these two cards to determine the best in terms of benefits.
So in the right corner of the ring is Genn Greymane, in the left Baku the Mooneater. This will be a brutal fight, more spectacular than Rostakon's rumbles. In this series of videos, our main goal is to determine the original hidden value of the effects that the developers intended during the creation of cards and demonstrate the differences in numbers on paper and usefulness in real game circumstances. For this we use our experimental benchmark.
In the previous video, we analyzed the starting hero powers and talked in detail about the nuances of our approach.
We hope that you are already familiar with all the nuances of our method. In this video we will continue to study the cards in a vacuum without taking into account special synergies and mechanics. This approach will allow us to determine how good the cards themselves are.
It is worth recalling that we came to the conclusion that in modern circumstances hero powers have lost their relevance, since the level of card power has increased significantly while the abilities have remained the same, and in most scenarios they're completely useless. The return of Baku and Genn allows us to test whether improved hero powers can create too much of an advantage for classes in today's meta.
Let's start with a short background. Baku and Genn are the most odious cards in Hearthstone history. They were added to the game along with the Witchwood expansion in 2018. A unique feature of the cards is the ability to interact with hero power at the beginning of the match, but in order to activate the effect, the deck must be assembled according to certain rules. Baku the Mooneater improves hero power, just like Justicar Trueheart, but requires the deck to only consist of odd-cost cards. Genn Greymane makes the cost of base hero power equal to 1 mana, but for this the deck must only contain even-cost cards. This allowed players to form multiple odd and even strategies. Upgrading and lowering the cost of abilities was so popular that it completely took over the metagame and left no room for other strategies.
The developers had to make a difficult decision and prematurely send these cards to the wild format just a year after their release. Thus, these are the only cards in history that were available in standard for such a short time. Now they return to wreak havoc again, or go virtually unnoticed.
Let's finally evaluate the potential of Baku and Genn using our benchmark. To do this, we established how the power of abilities changes depending on the influence of these cards. Fire Blast has a completely predictable effect and a 100% probability of getting the maximum benefit under any circumstances. The conditional value consists of almost 0.7 mana crystals for 1 damage plus 1 mana for boomerang effect, which allows the ability to be used every turn. Add to this an additional mana crystal for summing up the effects and we get a minimum and maximum value of almost 3 mana crystals. Utility ratio shows how many times the card has more nominal benefits compared to its cost. This means we must divide the average value by the actual mana cost. Thus, for 1 invested mana, you will get almost 3 times more benefit. In classic Hearthstone, the nominal value of effects for 1 mana cards varies from 1 mana crystals. In modern circumstances, the coefficient is at least 3 mana. Thus, Fire Blast for 1 mana almost corresponds to the current level of power of new cards, but for this you must build a deck according to certain rules. Is it worth giving up strong tools to get the opportunity to use a balanced hero power every turn? This may not be rational in a situation where the class lacks additional synergy. Baku upgrades Fire Blast to rank 2, and makes the hero's power exactly twice as strong and transform it into an analog of Arcane Shot. The utility coefficient is only 1.7. The basic level for cards from 2014 is 1. This means that the nominal value of the effects fully corresponds to the cost of the card. In this case, the coefficient 1.7 means that this ability is 70% higher than the basic level. For cards that cost more than 1 mana crystal, the current power level is 2. In other words, for a card to have a chance to become useful at least in arena mode, it must be 2 times more powerful than the basic standard. It's too early to draw conclusions, but it seems that in the absence of synergy, even in an improved form this hero power would not have broken the standard metagame.
It was the hunter's turn. According to testing in the previous video, Steady Shot has the most value on paper. Not surprisingly, Genn makes this ability even better. 2 damage to an enemy hero has a 100% chance of having the most benefit. The maximum value is almost 3 mana crystals, which almost corresponds to the conventional standard of power of modern 1 mana cards. Based on such a high benefit, it is not surprising that Baku did not improve the hero power by twice. Ballista Shot deals 1 more damage. For 2 mana, you get a benefit that is 60% higher than the basic standard, but does not fully correspond to the current power level. Thus, the upgrade makes this ability less powerful but more balanced compared to other abilities.
Utility ratio of Reinforce is 2.7, slightly less than Steady Shot, but we cannot ignore the fact that in Hearthstone battles occur primarily with the help of minions. The cumulative effect of this hero power made it superior in battles against other classes.
The improved version looks crazy. 2 creatures with 1/1 stats have quite a lot of value. The only drawback is that in some cases you will not be able to realize the effect in full due to the lack of free slots on the board. In this case, your minimum value will be less than 3 mana crystals, but the probability of this is negligible. Almost always you will get the maximum benefit of more than 4 mana crystals. If we take into account 2 scenarios and divide the average value by the actual cost, the utility ratio will be 2.1. This is a well-balanced result for the current power level.
Totemic Call is the most unpredictable hero power with the greatest potential. Healing Totem and Wrath of Air Totem are very situational but can generate a lot of value in the long run. But the randomness factor does not allow you to get a useful totem at the right moment. The improved version completely removes the randomness factor, allowing you to get a specific totem in unlimited quantities. But this does not affect the situational and usefulness of totems. Because of this, the likelihood of maximizing value hasn't increased as dramatically, but the ability has become significantly more attractive, at least on paper. In my opinion, in modern realities, the usefulness of Healing Totem and Wrath of Air Totem has significantly decreased compared to the classic. The ability to choose an effect has additional value, but due to the low utility of totems, we ignored the additional value of this advantage.
Life Tap is the best ability with negative consequences that you can ignore in most matches, if you decide to use your life as a resource. By the game's basic standards, the ability doesn't look all that impressive, but the effect of drawing cards is one of the most useful in the game. Genn makes this ability twice as good, while Baku completely negates the negative effects, but this is not that useful considering that you could ignore the negative consequences in most matches. As a result, we got a very mediocre value on paper.
Lesser Heal is the only hero power that does not guarantee value on the second turn. The cost reduction did not change this. In some cases, hero power will be useless. Upgrading the ability opens up another drawback. To get the full benefit, you must restore 4 life points to yourself or the creatures each time, but this will not always be possible. Therefore, this hero power does not guarantee full benefits. Armor Up, in our opinion, looks much more useful, since you get the full benefit in any situation, although you cannot apply the effect to creatures. After the cost reduction, the utility ratio is 2.8, which means a fairly good balanced effect. But 4 armor is better than 2. Tank Up is a rare case where Baku improves the main effect by 2 times. In this form utility ratio is 1.8, which is almost the new power standard for 2 mana cards.
Unfortunately, Demon Claws does not gain any benefits from Genn, as the ability already costs 1. This hero power has negative consequences if you target an enemy minion. For example, we consider a scenario in which the opponent's minion has 3 attacks. Just like a Warlock, you can ignore damage if you turn your hit points into a resource. Attacking creatures has slightly more nominal value than attacking an enemy hero, although this is the safest option. Demon's Bite is the only 1 mana ability that Baku interacts with, and it is on par with Genn's enhanced abilities. Under the same conditions, the utility ratio is 2.7. We will consider further abilities under the same scenario, but in our opinion, the effect of causing damage with your own hit points is less valuable than the effect of drawing cards and losing your hit points.
Shapeshift looks very weak on paper even after the price cut. In some scenarios you will only receive half the benefit in armor, as the attack will be impossible. At the same time, the presence of armor allows you to slightly minimize the negative consequences. Dire Shapeshift is a full-fledged copy of the Claw spell but with a cost of 2 mana. In this form, the ability is much more useful, but the final result is still not impressive enough.
Dagger Mastery continues to be a very weak ability even after cost reduction. Many players do not agree with us, because they believe that this is an analog of investing in the future that allows Rogue to attack 2 times. But you can't ignore the fact that the delayed value has fewer benefits compared to the value received immediately. Baku makes the ability much better, although not strong enough to comply with the modern standard, but the ability has become more consistent with most of the other hero powers.
And finally, Ghoul Charge. In these calculations, we ignore the additional benefits from Corpse, as we are still not sure that they have additional value, since they are an alternative way to activate bonus effects. Despite this, we agree with some opinions that there is value, but it is minimal. Baku does not give significant benefits in addition to increasing the attack of the Ghoul. From a value standpoint, this ability seems weak.
So now, when we know about the influence of these 2 legendary cards on the hero's ability, we can determine the winner in this battle. In the table with the final results, we clearly demonstrated how much the power of the hero's abilities changes depending on the influence of the 2 legendary cards.
I always had the impression that both cards improve abilities twice, but according to our method, this is not the case. Hero powers consist of 3 components: the main effect, the boomerang effect and additional conditional value for stacking these effects. Baku improves only the main effect and not always twice. In turn, Genn, reducing the cost of the ability, affects all components of the card.
But the beauty of Hearthstone lies in the nuances. Despite the fact that Baku looks too weak, it has significantly more advantages in the late game, since the hero's ability allows for a larger volume of effects to be realized. For example, 4 armor for 2 mana is much better than 2 armor for 1 mana, but this only matters when there is a lack of resources. This is especially beneficial for control archetypes within a slow meta game. For the early game things are different. The difficulty of implementing the ability also matters. Within even strategies, this is much easier to do, which means you have the opportunity to get more benefits from using the ability. Within the odd strategy, it is much more difficult to implement the ability in combination with other cards. It's also worth noting the 2 abilities that benefited the most from Baku's upgrades. The ability to choose a totem was, under classical circumstances, extremely promising if the player could find the best use for it. In modern realities, unfortunately, everything is different. The most interesting is the Paladin ability. Summoning 2 separate units is very useful for most aggressive strategies. Add synergy to this and you receive a competitive archetype.
So, according to our benchmark and taking into account all the nuances, the clear winner is Genn. Despite this, we are not sure that its advantages can be useful in the modern standard. The game has changed dramatically over the last 5 years and good balanced effects are no longer an advantage unless they are part of powerful synergies. Baku has a bit more utility in current standard and could find a place in control and Highlander archetypes or some armor warrior builds. But I don't believe that the card can become a key without strong synergies. The prospects for the usefulness of these 2 cards in standard are unclear, but we can find out how popular they are in wild.
It is worth noting that both cards are currently not key for the format, but the presence of Genn Greymane is much higher. According to HS Guru, since the release of the Whizbang expansion, players have used this card 165,000 times across all ranks. The most popular archetype is even Shaman. Combined with strong synergy, a cheap totem has great value and it doesn't really matter which one you can summon. In addition, the card is used in even Warlock archetypes, and even in some Highlander warrior builds. Baku's statistics are meager. On average, only 5,000 matches were played over 3 months. For a long time, the card's home was Odd Paladin, as silver hand synergies were extensive and extremely effective. In today's circumstances, the archetype is on the fringes of the metagame. But warriors periodically try to adapt the card as part of various experimental strategies with broad armor synergies. Also, demon hunters found a use for the card.
In any case, it seems to us that the time of dominance of both cards is already far behind us. The level of power in the wild format has become too huge, which has led to a reduction in variability and could lead to disaster in the near future.
We made a separate video about this in which we presented all the arguments. There is too little space left even for Genn, not to mention Baku.
It is very unlikely that these cards will be able to break standard in 2024. But we're very excited to know the outcome of this comeback, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts. Which card do you think is stronger in today's circumstances?
Share your thoughts in the comments and join the polls in the community tab.
Traditionally, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors.
Dear friends, your help is invaluable. We will be grateful for any support.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.